killing me to sit on the floor.
You need more yoga.
God.
Maybe it should be more than once a week.
Okay, welcome back to week 3 of the Organic Adventure. So results this week is just scale. Last week we did measurements and scale. Next week we do scale, measurements, and pictures, and we'll share all that with you. But baby, what happened this week?
Weight was still down for both of us. And because of the significant drop that both of us had after the first 2 weeks, we did up our calories a little bit because my intention was not to keep dropping weight rapidly. So I increased the calories a little bit and still lost half a pound, which again, I'm not complaining about, but it's not my usual experience with this.
No doubt. Okay, so Carrie's down half a pound again. I'm down another pound, and that again is on a couple hundred more calories every day.
I don't know what to say.
Right, and we won't know till next week exactly where that weight is coming from, because next week, again, it's tape measure and pictures. So we'll have our 1 month progress pictures.
I'm curious to see those pictures. Like
Me
if
too.
there's any noticeable.
I hope we look jacked. I really hope we look jacked. And baby, what do we have for them this week?
Oh, recovery. What does our recovery schedule programming look like?
Okay, so recovery, if you're not even sure what recovery means, we're going to break that down for you when we get there. But why don't we go hit the maths?
All right.
Okay, see you in a second. Baby, what are we doing here on these colorful little strips?
They're called yoga mats.
Yoga mats.
Yoga mats.
What are we doing on yoga mats?
Well, we just finished doing yoga.
We just finished doing yoga. Okay. So this week we want to talk to you guys about the other half of training, which is recovery. So the whole idea in terms of training, I'll make this super short. The idea of training is you don't get better doing workouts. You don't get fitter doing workouts. You don't get stronger. You don't get more muscles. You don't get anything. You get that as you recover. The workout is the stimulus. The recovery is the time to do it. It's like the blueprint versus the guys actually building the wall. So, what are our recovery methods? And then we can kind of get into each one.
Okay. Well, obviously we're on yoga mats, so that is something we try and get in at least once a week. We used to have a favorite instructor and a favorite class that we attended regularly, but COVID has us doing our own practice, which isn't the worst because I'm actually a certified yoga instructor. I don't have any place to teach right now.
And I'm not a great student. I'm really bad at this. I try, I mean well.
You tried hard, and It was something you were slightly apprehensive about doing.
I've had negative yoga experiences where it's left me feeling worse as opposed to better.
But we do try and focus, and even I guess my style of teaching is focused more on someone who is in the gym training and really trying to stretch out their muscles. So I'm not super focused on balance poses or even strength poses. It's not what I'm drawn to yoga for. It's more the recovery, stretching out muscles, because I'm terrible at stretching, which is a very ironic thing. But a class gives me an opportunity to do that weekly or regularly.
100%. And then obviously I'm working around different injuries or parts that don't work.
Our yoga practice looks a lot different.
Yeah, I'm not. The thing that always gets me when we do yoga is the upward snake.
Cobra.
Yes. When I see us like in the mirror, there's a mirror behind you right now that I see us in when we do yoga. It doesn't look like I'm actually trying to do what Carrie's doing, but I am.
Yeah, you try hard. And I do think that's also a really important idea. And again, it depends on what's bringing you to yoga, but there isn't, in my opinion, a perfect practice. And you're not gonna look like someone else doing yoga. You need to figure out how the stretch works for you. That's my philosophy anyways.
100%. Okay, so piece number 1, in no particular order, all of these I think are very good, is yoga. Try to get one, like 45 minutes to an hour session of yoga
a week.
Every week. Okay, what is another recovery methodology that we use?
Well, I've been using it for a long time, and it's regular massages. So typically every 4 weeks for me, I will have a massage that focuses on problem areas that I have that tend to flare up if I'm not being mindful about that. Craig, on the other hand, is a little newer to the practice of getting massage.
So I've had massages in the past, especially when I was competing in strongman. I would get them sometimes, usually if I was messed up. But I've never been a super huge fan, nor done them very regularly. And it was a couple months ago, I totaled my truck, and I don't know, a week, 2 weeks later, we went away for my birthday. And I still at that point couldn't turn my head very much. I could give you like a side angle, like to either side, but that was about it.
It was bad.
And Carrie booked me a massage. And I went in, and when we were leaving, I'm like, yo, babe, watch this. I'm like, turning my head, I felt like a poltergeist or something.
Yeah.
And since then, I've been getting massages every 2 to 3 weeks to kind of hold me together better after seeing how good they are.
Yes, and you were hesitant to that idea, but it worked out well.
Yeah, so we both go to a clinic not far from here called Flow Health.
Yeah.
We both see the same practitioner. Her name's Naomi.
She's great.
She's dynamite.
Yeah.
Okay, so yoga, massages, what next?
For me, I have an acupuncture cupping treatment every 3 to 4 weeks as well. Again, working on prior injuries that I've experienced, and I love where I go. Dr. Lee is fantastic. Yeah, and it's been really helpful for me.
Acupuncture is dynamite. I don't do that presently. I've had it with Dr. Lee. The acupuncturist and sports medicine doctor, Dr. Tina Rogers at Flow, is also amazing. I'm a huge believer in acupuncture. Anytime I'm super messed up, that is my 911.
Yeah.
Like if I'm tanked, that's my go-to.
Those needles help.
Okay, so we've got yoga, massage, Carrie does acupuncture.
Yeah.
And what is our fourth, final, and maybe favorite recovery method?
It's really simple. It's just walking. And outside, obviously. Like, you can walk on a treadmill, it's not the same thing. But for me, especially being outside, even when it's cold, and I hate the cold, being outside and just the blood flow, moving things around in not a strenuous cardio fashion, I find super helpful.
So we did that a ton in the summer. We'd walk like a couple hours almost every day. And I couldn't believe the difference into how good I felt. And there's a lot of big strongman powerlifter type guys now who promote the idea of walking for recovery because it's so easy on your body. You get so much movement, it's really natural, you get a huge amount of blood flow. But I think it's been magic for us, and I feel it when we don't have it.
Yeah, and I think we fell into it by accident after a leg day. We left the gym, there was nothing to do because it was COVID, and we went for a walk and grabbed a coffee and noticed that the recovery from leg day seemed to be a lot quicker, or better, I guess, when we were going into the next leg day.
Yeah, and it's a really nice thing to do. Like, it's nice to just grab a coffee and go for a walk, especially in the nicer weather. And if you can get some pluses in terms of recovery and how quickly you feel better, and how you're moving, it's a no-brainer. Okay, so those are our recovery methods.
Yes.
And I guess we'll be back to hit you with our food for thought in a hot minute. We'll go put on some real clothes, and we'll talk to you soon. Okay, welcome back. We hope you're feeling as limber and as loose as, I hope you're feeling as limber and as loose as Carrie. Maybe not as limber and loose as me. So this week's food for thought, before we get into it, we got some feedback on one of our last videos talking about lettuce.
Yeah, I couldn't find iceberg lettuce or asparagus anywhere. And Carrie hit us up with where I could find, great name, where I could find some iceberg lettuce. So I've got that back in the fridge, and I actually came across asparagus too. So I'm super happy.
Okay, so with that out of the way, and the lettuce is a plus, the asparagus, give or take.
You don't have to eat it.
I still don't even like that it exists. But regardless,
okay.
This week, what is one of the questions we've been getting a lot of?
The idea, whether or not, if you want to see results from an experiment like this, if you've got to be all in, like, is it 100%, or can you get away with it if I'm doing 80%?
So we had a lot of debate about this because that's a tricky question. So basically how we broke it down is maybe there might be one or two things in your diet that aren't organic or that have something in them that are causing you to have problems. But the tricky part is you can't identify what those are unless you cut anything. So we talked about the idea of comparing this almost to an elimination diet. Baby, what is that?
Right. So if you do an elimination diet, if you've heard of that, often it's taking out wheat and dairy and sugar and a lot of, I guess, foods or things that are sensitive to a lot of people. But again, you can't pick and choose what those are. So is there a point where if you've done this type of experiment, you could start seeing if you could add some things back in, much like an elimination diet where you've done it for 4 weeks or 6 weeks, or you've dealt with some of the things that maybe took you to that in the first place. Then you can start, okay, well, I really like this. Can I have a little bit of gluten and how does my body respond to that? But I think personally, until you're willing to do it 100%, you're not going to know if the changes are true changes and whether it's digestion or how you're sleeping or how your skin looks or whatever it is that you're trying to figure out unless you can completely invest in it. And that's why there was part of each of us that was apprehensive. Like there's been some things missing and some things I didn't know if I was going to be willing to do without.
Yeah, 100%. Obviously, I agree. If I didn't agree with Carrie, we probably wouldn't be partners on this cool little experiment. However, that's basically the idea. If you want to know what line you can scale this back to and still get results, the only option I can logically see is you go 100% and then you go, okay, I'm going to try one thing for a week. I'm going to bring back in Starbucks. I'm going to bring back in Doritos. I'm going to bring back in non-organic pickles or whatever. I don't think it matters. And you test one thing at a time and you see what happens.
And my guess is you would know immediately. I'd done an elimination diet years and years ago and was pretty strict with it. And by accident ate something that I shouldn't have been eating. And I was like, why? Like my stomach hurts, what's happening? And then I was able to figure out what went wrong. And if it is something that you've cut out of your diet for say 4 weeks and you go back to having, you'll know fast if that's an issue for you or not an issue.
100%. I've had that experience personally when I was in the Army. I did a month vegan to test that for some of the running I was doing. And so I've known for a long time I'm not great with milk or dairy. But I did a month completely vegan. The first time I had milk, I don't know if it was ice cream or a milkshake or whatever, I was a wreck. I was like, oh, I've been like low-key dealing with feeling kind of bad for a long time. This is actually poison to my body and I'm going to die.
But that idea of feeling low-key bad, when it's an everyday thing that you're eating or consuming or whatever, and you start to feel that way normally, you don't actually realize you're feeling low-key bad until you cut it out and then try it again.
And then your body will let you know what it is. So,
big mistake.
Big mistake. So our advice, my advice, her advice, the advice. If you want to see if this works for you, and obviously we're going to share our results next week, so maybe hold on, maybe our results end up sucking and you decide like, oh, I'm not doing this at all. But if you want to know if something like this will work for you, you're going to have to do it 100%, and then you can scale back and test. And maybe the results are so good that you're like, yeah, 100% is what it is. Or you can add a few things and you're like, I'm getting 99% of the benefit at 50% of the strictness.
This works for me.
Yeah, so it's going to be personal experimentation. There's something called N=1, and that's the idea in an experiment that the results only apply to one person, but your results only have to apply to one person. You. And that's it. We'll see them next week for the big check-in.
I hope it's good.
Me too, I'm nervous.
I guess I want that to maybe go the other way though too. If we came back that this was terrible, like after the 4th week, maybe I'm hitting Starbucks again.
But if we do these pictures and we look like trash, we're going to have to delete the channel, deny this ever happened. We'll be walking around, we'll see you in real life and be like, there were some people that look just like us.
We're extinct.
Doing some stupid experiment, but not us, obviously. But we'll share all the stuff, good or bad, with you in a week.
See how it goes.
We'll see you soon.